With E3 all over for another year, it's time to make sure you didn't miss any of the most exciting games. If you're left reeling after E3 wondering exactly how much time you're expected to map out in 2020 for all the big game releases, join the club.
Tick-tock.
And we're not about to make it any easier for your planning skills. After the buzz of the conferences has died down, it's important to shine the spotlight on some of the most exciting games that you might have missed in all of the Keanu Reeves-induced madness. From comedy exploration sims to cosy death management adventures, here are 10 amazing games that you might have missed from E3. You'd think that any game with guns would be enough to make you feel like John Wick. The rains of bullets in Borderlands, juggling guns in Destiny or The Division, but it turns out that our favourite dog-loving assassin is more meticulous than those showy wastes of bullets, and John Wick Hex is the perfect way to find that out. Rather than Michael Bay levels of explosions, this is a top-down strategy game all about the little murderous moments, the ones that keep you alive and everyone else leaving in body bags. It might look turn-based, but Hex's first surprise is that it really isn't. What it is time-based. Like Superhot, time only passes here when you're moving. So whether you're taking steps of 0.2 seconds or aiming and popping off 2 killer shots with your trusty gun, the world moves in turn. This makes every decision matter, and you can weigh everything up with a timeline at the top of the screen that lets you know how the action's going to play out. Do you have time to do a takedown, or do you only have time to risk throwing your gun and stunning a lone shooter? Oh, and Hex uses John Wick rules for bullets, not game rules. If you reload, not only does it take away every bullet still in the magazine, but it takes precious seconds too. Get it wrong and you're dead. But get it right and you'll feel like a god of bullet time, which, coincidentally, Keanu probably knows a bit about.
Mr. Wick is a master at play.
The first thing that we had to do before writing this list feature was check that there hadn't already been a video game of Japanese survive-em-up game show Takeshi's Castle. But no, apparently not. And in a world of battle royale games and 99-to-1 Tetris, that seems especially surprising. Thankfully, Fall Guys Ultimate Knockout is waddling onto PC to plug that gap. 100 adorably round, jelly-bean-looking players compete to survive a series of increasingly challenging physics-based obstacle courses. Some of these strongly resemble games featured in the revered Practically Unwinnable game show, others feel more like traditional video games, but all of them have a rich, colourful sense of fun that's already marking Fall Guys out as the sort of title that Let's Players and streamers are desperate to get their hands on, and we'll definitely be giving it a go when it arrives in 2020. Were any sentient jelly beans harmed during the production of this entry? Yes, literally all of them. Have you heard? We're going to the zoo. Yeah, fine, you can come too. If you're a fan of Frontier's theme park sim Planet Coaster, you know exactly what you're in for with Planet Zoo. It's important to note though that this isn't just the same game with some cute critters thrown in. This is a product of years of development to create the ultimate in animal simulation. Whether you're admiring the unique markings of the giraffes or oohing at the chimps, it's clear that Frontier hasn't just been lying around and has focused on crafting an incredibly realistic experience. Just like modern zoos, this is all about conservation and education. And just as important as keeping your mammals and reptiles happy with enrichment items is entertaining your thousands of customers and making them smarter at the same time. This means juggling keepers, hello new staff-only paths, adding rides, and designing your own personalised environments for your fuzzy friends. Even better news is that Planet Zoo arrives this year, so we don't need to wait until 2020 like practically everything else on this list. Let's face it, no one has time for No Man's Sky. All that space, all those elements, you don't need to have a physics degree to know that procedurally generated endless universes just aren't compatible with having a life. Well, thankfully, Journey to the Savage Planet, the first game from Typhoon Studios, knows exactly how life works and has crafted a beautiful, apparently 12-hour-long gem. This gently comedic sci-fi is all about exploring planets, collecting information, and, well, smacking adorable adorable puffy creatures into giant meat-eating plants and feeling simultaneously good and bad about it at the same time. Going hands-on at E3 was a pure hit of charm to the eyeballs as I scanned environments, shot flying mud-hurling jellyfish and collected satisfyingly shaped carbon molecules. Travelling the universe as an employee of the 4th best interstellar exploration company, yep, 4th and proud of it, this is a brilliant space adventure with a delightful sense of humour. Cozy death management sim, anyone? What do you mean that's not a tag you follow on Steam just in case anyone creates one? To the one person that's just like me then, Spiritfarer is the game that you and I have been waiting for. From the development team behind Sundered, this is a beautiful Stardew Valley-esque management game where you just happen to be ferrying beautiful creatures into the afterlife. You'll need to customise and carefully build your boat, mine for crafting materials, fish, cook and farm, all while making sure that your guests are cared for on board before they head into the beyond. Everything is beautifully hand-drawn, and there's even a button to hug the guests on board. Yes, a hug button in an already too good to be true game. Oh, and there's an optional co-op where you can play as a cat called Daffodil. Perhaps dreams do come true. The only bad news is that yet again, we're going to have to wait until next year. Maybe take up a hobby until then. Sometimes, when game developers invent words, it's a warning sign, but it turns out that co-opetition is the perfect description of Scavengers, a 3-player survival adventure from newly indie ex-Halo devs. While some games, squad-based action, will still let you head off in different directions, Scavengers need you to stick together to survive on a ruined Earth, hunting down samples and crafting and cooking for one another in a freezing ice age. Even other 3-player teams can come in handy too, as you take on bosses and fulfill objectives together, but the desire to take them down and loot their gear is practically irresistible. Going hands-on with a bout at E3 was exhilarating, and the choice of character classes and the way you can work together with your special abilities and crafting skills makes you feel truly united with your freezing teammates. Just try not to kill everyone else, at least at first.
You want to come home, don't you?
Carrion, from the appropriately named Phobia game studio, is a reverse horror game, which is one of those ideas that makes you wonder why it hasn't been done a million times before. In it, you control an amorphous creature that stalks and consumes the people who imprisoned it. Think of it like a revenge flick starring an octopus with a vendetta. It looks squelchy, schlocky and satisfying as you stalk the scientists responsible for your incarceration through a subterranean lab, throwing out dripping tentacles and devouring anyone who gets in your way. You'll also get to upgrade your skills as you go, expanding your murderous repertoire and adding new tricks like the ability to web your prey. Think of it like the saran wrap on a packed lunch. If you've ever watched sci-fi or horror and secretly rooted for the monster, then you should absolutely add this to your malevolent wishlist. Carrion will ooze into our lives in 2020. So what happens when two of the original creators of Fallout get together at Obsidian Entertainment to make an interplanetary RPG with all kinds of sci-fi weapons? Well, The Outer Worlds. That's what. Coming this year from the studio behind Fallout New Vegas, this delicious looking RPG hands you the power to slow down time, thrilling plasma rifles and a whole lot of decision making. The hands-off demo that I saw at E3 was set on an old mining planet as you were tasked with hunting down the head of an evil corporation. As an aside, this nefarious business farms a creature called cystipigs. Cystipigs, in case you were wondering, are just the tip of the iceberg when it comes to the Outer World's twisted sense of humour, a breed of bumpy pigs bred specifically for the bacon tumours that fall off them sporadically. Don't let this grossness put you off though. The level of choice on offer when it comes to combat and world exploration and intriguing decision trees make Outer Worlds look like one to watch this year.
Good luck!
I'll warn you now, it's going to be very difficult to get through this entry without some terrible puns, so I'm probably not even going to try. Freedom Finger is a side-scrolling, music-based shoot-'em-up in which you pilot a fist. That's right, a giant flying fist. This means that you can shoot enemy craft as you would in any other game, but you can also punch them throw them, or better still, grab them and use them as a weapon. In case what you're seeing on screen isn't enough of a clue, this is a deeply comic game with a stellar voice cast that includes Nolan North and John DiMaggio. But what you can't see is the music. Well, it would be weird if you could, which is also incredible and forms the foundation for much of the action. The level of invention here is enough that Shuei Yoshida, president of Sony's worldwide studios, picked this as one of his games of the show. And let's be honest, he has a point. A point? Oh, I did warn you. You can stop face palming. Face palming, yeah, like your hand is face palming and face palming. Oh, never mind.
Very f***ing cool.
And to round this list out perfectly with a colourful platformer, there's Yooka-Laylee and the Impossible Lair, the follow-up to the original Kickstarter success story. The Impossible Lair switcheroos the camera angle to a side-scrolling 2.5D adventure and reacquaints us with a slew of characters from the first game. Going hands-on with this pair is just as charming as it looks, but not without its challenges, and there's even puzzles and problems to solve in the overworld between levels. You can throw bombs to find new areas, and some levels even have multiple ways to play depending on what you've done in the overworld. If you enjoyed their first colourful adventure, you aren't going to want to miss our charming heroes taking on Capital B and his nefarious hive mind. Believe me? So that was the 10 amazing games that you might have missed amidst the E3 buzz. Let us know if we missed any of your favourites in the comments below, drop us a like if you enjoyed this video, and don't forget to subscribe to Logitech G for more features just like this one. If you do already subscribe, remember to hit that notification bell so that you know exactly when our next video lands.